Pesto, one of my favourite dips, to be used in sauces, to be used in sandwiches, to be used in all plethora of places. A herbaceous, green goddess of a dip with garlic, parmesan and roasted flavour of pine nut. This is a perfect dip for you to know how to make at home, and we're going to make a perfect one for you today. Let's get it. Now, in many different cultures, there's many different variations of this classic dressing. In France, there's pesto. In Italy, there's pesto. And for me, the base flavour starts with these little bad boys, pine nuts. So take a good handful just into a medium pan, and we put that onto a medium heat. Now, the reason there's no fat in that pan is because the pine nuts are full of oil, they're full of flavour, and they're full of depth. So what we want to do is heat up the metal, extract the oils from that pine nuts through heat, and what you'll find is the room starts to smell with this roasted nutty flavour. Now, you need to be careful towards the end once you start seeing those golden brown flecks on the pine nuts, because as soon as the heat is in that pan, these things can burn very quickly. So keep tossing them. At this stage, I'm happy. We're going to roll them around and take them off. So we pour those into a little bowl, set them aside for later. And now we need to deal with the base, the bulk flavour of this pesto, which is going to be this stunning fresh basil. Now, the basil is green. We want to keep it green. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is seal the chlorophyll that's inside that basil. That's the chemical or compound that makes it green. The way we do that is by blanching it. And when you blanch something, you do two things. You rapidly boil it, and then you cool it down in ice water. So before the basil goes in the pan, make sure you have your ice water ready to rock. My ice is ready, my water is boiling. Take all of your basil, and when there's a good rapid boil in the pan, we plunge the basil in, press it down and seal that chlorophyll. Now, when I put my basil into blanch, I'll always let it come back up to a rolling boil so I'm sure of the temperature. Once we've hit that stage, turn the heat off so it doesn't start bubbling, and we go into the ice. Always stir your basil when it goes into the ice as well, because you want the ice water to go inside that bunch and cooling it down as quick as possible. It is perfectly green and stunning. Now just lift it out of the bowl, give it a good old crush and a squeeze. We want to extract the maximum amount of water out of that basil. And give it a really good squeeze with your hands, and then set that aside, ready to make the pesto. The basil is done, the pine nuts are roasted, the parmesan is here, I have pepper and I have olive oil. The last ingredient to get sorted is the garlic. So rip open your bulb, grab a couple of cloves. I'm gonna get those peeled very simply. So now all that's left to do is blend it up. In the old days, they'd use a pestle and mortar, which is kind of like a big stone bowl with a hammer that they used to crush and grind all these flavors together. These days we have a blender, so just pop everything in there. Basil in, and get your pine nuts straight in there, your cloves of garlic. And some people grate the parmesan. I'm gonna let the blender do the job for me, break it up and get that in there as well. Good hit of pepper, and finally the all important extra virgin olive oil. So just trickle some olive oil in as it's blending till you get to your desired consistency. Now the olive oil, the garlic, is all gonna help preserve this dressing, but don't fret. What you can do is get this done on the weekend, a big batch for the week, for 2 weeks, for 3 months. Stick it in the freezer in ice cube trays, and then as you need it, pop a cube out, put it in your pastas, put it in your salad dressings, let it defrost in the fridge and use it as a dip. You can take this pesto wherever you want. Don't think you need to do this every time. You can get ahead with certain things, and this is definitely one of them. And at this stage, we're done. The smell, the aroma coming off this thing already, just as I've lifted the lid up, is absolutely amazing. Now you will notice we haven't added any salt yet. There's salt in the parmesan, but I don't want to season all of it because I'm going to keep some of it back. And salt will deteriorate and break down the basil and the garlic over time. So what we want to do is season it when we use it. So I'm going to pour some out, get a good pinch of salt in there, and then mix that salt through. Fold it through very gently. The salt, the pepper, the heat from the garlic, that round, fatty luxuriousness you get from those roasted pine nuts, almost herbaceous grassiness you get from really good olive oil. This is an amazing dip, dressing, sauce that has stood the test of time because of how delicious it is. You need to try this at home, get it done in batches, stick it in your freezer, and it'll be ready for your weekday meal. My 101 of pesto. Out I go!